Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Former St. Lucia Prime Minister Kenny Anthony blasts the government's budget for 2021-22. This story takes the lead in our 1074th edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 23rd March 2021. Details after this break.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
Welcome back. St. Lucia's former Prime Minister and former Minister of Finance, Dr. Kenny Anthony, has painted a grim economic outlook for St. Lucia in the wake of the presentation of the 2021-22 estimates of revenue and expenditure. Stanley Lucia of HTS News Force reports.
The Member of Parliament for Vieux-Fort South and former Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony, in his contribution Thursday to the budget debate, painted a bleak picture of St. Lucia's economic performance. Dr. Anthony says despite the unparalleled borrowing, the gross domestic product has declined sharply, though the exact extent of the downturn is disputed.
The decline in our GDP is so drastic that it is unknown at this time, the precise quantum of the decline. At one sitting, we were told by the Minister of Finance that GDP had declined by an estimated 18%. And I'm sure honorable members will confirm they remember this. I also recalled that the Minister of Finance also suggested in a previous sitting in this House that the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank had estimated that GDP had declined even further, possibly, and these were his cautionary words, by some 22%. If any country suffers a GDP decline of 15, 16, 17, 18%, worse yet 22%, 27%, it is a veritable disaster. It's a monumental disaster, Mr. Speaker.
The former Minister of Finance criticized his successor for failing to provide relief to struggling St. Lucians at a time of acute hardship, despite what he says is the previously unheard of level of borrowing, which he calculates at $1.1 billion in the space of 2 years.
In acquiring $618 million in debt, how much relief was provided to the ordinary St. Lucian during this period of crisis? Can the government say how much of that debt actually touched people's lives? How much of that debt went and benefited people individually? How much employment was created? How did the average single mother or student benefit? How can St. Lucians be expected to repay this debt when they were not the beneficiaries of the same? Mr. Speaker, I sure hope that the Honorable Minister for Finance can provide some measure of accountability on the matter of debt and its intergenerational burden. Let's tell the people the truth.
Dr. Anthony, in his contribution to the debate, raised the familiar criticism which has been leveled against the government, that of focusing on projects at the expense of people.
In their time of greatest need, when lives and livelihoods were being lost, the UWP administration prioritized expenditure on roads rather than provide relief to St. Lucians in the form of refunds which are legally due to them. This is a time when citizens need money in their hands, in their pockets. This is a time to put some of the promised ching-ching in the pockets of working St. Lucians, not deprive them of what they're justly entitled. The more money that is in circulation, the more people have disposable income, the better it is for all of us and for the economy.
The two political parties are at odds over the ways in which public funds should be expended during this crisis. Prime Minister Alan Shastney continues to press ahead with his infrastructural projects in the expectation that it would provide a big boost to the economy. The St. Lucia Labour Party, for its part, argues that the projects are being undertaken at the expense of the welfare of the people who require urgent direct assistance in this time of need. Stanley Lucian for the HTS News Force.
Tobago's Progressive Democratic Patriots, the PDM, wants a rollback of the clock on their negotiations with the Tobago Council of the People's National Movement, the PNM. Meanwhile, the PNM's Tobago Council wants to continue their negotiations. TTT's Alex Assing reports.
The results of the January 25th Tobago House of Assembly election left both parties with 6 seats each. After agreeing to some form of power sharing to convene the assembly, talks between the two parties broke down last week after both sides could not come to an agreement on several issues. The PDP's political leader, Watson Duke, now wants the negotiation slate wiped clean.
And all her gang notice. And so far as today, all deals are off, all bets are off. When we come to negotiate, and we are saying yes, we want to negotiate, but we're negotiating from zero now. All positions are up for grab. We are making no demands on any position, and so you must not make any.
That his party was not in agreement for the number of seats to be increased from 12 to 15.
We are going to explore the law at a greater level. We are going to appeal to CARICOM. We are going to appeal to the United Nations. We are going to appeal to the European nation, the European Union. We are going to appeal to the African Union. We are going to appeal to everyone.
Meanwhile, political leader of the Tobago Council, Tracy Davidson Celestin, expressed concern at the PDP's proposal to claim 2 of 3 councillors in the Assembly and cautioned that this arrangement will give the PDP the majority and the option to move a vote of no confidence and remove the Chief Secretary or the presiding officer at their convenience. Mrs. Davidson Celestin has proposed that the 12 assemblymen should return to the negotiating table at a date and time to be determined after discussions between the two political leaders.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
No confirmation yet as to when Trinidad and Tobago's ports will be opened. However, moves are afoot to prepare the country for same.
The decision to reopen Trinidad and Tobago's borders will be made by the government after consultation with the Ministries of Health and National Security and will be guided by scientific evidence. This from Minister of Works and Transport Rohan Sinanan in response to a joint statement issued by the International Air Transport Association, the IATA, and 3 other air transport bodies that countries should open their borders and utilize agreed biosafety protocols. Minister Sinanan was asked to indicate when this country's borders will be reopened based on the recommendation in the upper house today. He said airports will be ready to operate whenever the decision is taken.
The global best practice outlined by the international organizations have been adhered to by the Airport Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, which through constant collaboration with the Ministry of Health has prepared our airports for a new normal of travel to ensure the safety of all users. Our airports will be ready and up to standard when the decision to reopen our borders is taken by the government. I thank you.
Jamaica battle COVID-19 as critical hospitalizations increase to nearly 400. Vashon Brown of TVJ News has this report.
As the country continues to battle the coronavirus pandemic, close to 400 people are now hospitalized because of the disease. The Health Ministry this morning reported that a record high 398 people are in hospital, 34 are critically ill. In the meantime, 4 more people have died from COVID-19. The total number of COVID-19 deaths now stands at 511. The latest persons to succumb to the illness are a 52-year-old woman from St. James, a 74-year-old man from St. Elizabeth, and a 68-year-old woman from St. Elizabeth, as well as a 95-year-old woman also from St. Elizabeth. Jamaica also recorded 638 new COVID-19 cases on Wednesday. This pushes the number of confirmed cases in the island to 33,366. Kingston and St. Andrew recorded the most with 246 cases in the last 24 hours, followed by St. Catherine with 177. There are currently 17,004 active cases. Meanwhile, a full audit is now being done to give an account of all COVID-19 vaccines that have been administered so far. The Health Ministry is expected to provide a report by this weekend. Shamila Pullen reports.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says since the rollout of the vaccination program on March 10, the Ministry of Health has been doing periodic audits. Dr. Tufton says this is to keep a record of all the vaccines that have been administered and to reconcile those with what remain.
Already we've heard about one vial containing 10 doses that went missing at Cornwall Regional. My understanding is that there may have been one or two that were broken. They fell off a table in one instance and fell from someone's hand in another. And records should reflect that with supporting evidence. But when we get the information, we will be happy to make it public.
So far, healthcare workers, the security forces, and people 65 years and older have been the first to be vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus. And even though news emerged that some people not on the priority list were being vaccinated, he said for the most part, those who should not be in the first batch were turned away.
The management of the priority groups, what is happening because the vaccines are highly demanded in the early stages of its application. There are many more people who want to get it and want to get it immediately. So the centers that have been set up, which I think were done fairly well, have to now manage people turning up at those locations that should not be there at this particular point in time.
The Ministry of Health says by Easter, the government wants to vaccinate over 47,000 people. Other groups, such as teachers, are targeted for the next phase.
The last count I saw, excluding, I think yesterday, was 17,000, just over 17,000. So we're making progress. I mean, slow progress. But we expected against target, it would be over 80%, which is not bad under the circumstances. It's to build that out and to improve on that as we go along.
The government says it will launch an online portal next month to allow everyone else to sign up for the vaccine. Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Calling all vehicle owners. Inspection and licensing continues. And at Hubbard's, we want you to be ready. From February 16th to March 31st. Registration numbers 2,501 to 5,000 with single registration letter. Or registration numbers 251 to 500 with plural registration letters will receive 11% off new torque tires and PowerMax batteries. Don't get caught unprepared. Visit us today at the Motor Department in Mount Gay or the Tire Bay in Grand Anse near to the building supplies.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.